Hello, my name is Max Strauss with ProInterviews.org, Facebook.com/ProInterviews, and Twitter.com/ProInterviews. I'd like to welcome you to the interview with Gibran Hamdan. Hamdan attended Indiana University, playing both baseball and football while he was there. During the 2003 NFL Draft, he was drafted in the 7th round, 232nd overall by the Washington Redskins. Throughout his career in the NFL, he played with the Redskins, Seahawks, 49ers, Dolphins, and the Bills. He also played in NFL Europe with the Amsterdam Admirals. He is the first player of Pakistani descent to play in the NFL. Here's the interview with Gibran, and I hope you enjoy the collage also. Do you have any way for the fans to connect with you?
I guess the best way right now is I've started a clothing company. We're a web-based online clothing retailer, and it's alialfatal.com. And I have a Facebook page that's connected with that. I also have a Twitter page at alialfatal. So I guess that would be the two places that fans could keep contact with me, even though I've now finished playing.
Who's your childhood star?
I had a couple. I was mainly a baseball player growing up, so I'd have to say my two big stars were Tom Glavine and Greg Maddux. Those were my two biggest stars on that side. Also Jim Tomei. And then football-wise, I didn't really start playing until I was a senior in high school. But I'd have to say Steve Young was always one of my favorite players. I really loved that song.
What was your high school football experience like? You mentioned that you played only senior year. What was that like?
It was pretty cool. They just asked me at the last minute to come out and play. The Eric Aaron quarterback had transferred, so I decided, hey, I had to get my mom's permission, and I had some baseball scholarship offers on the table, so it was kind of a risk to go play, considering the injury factor, but I always wanted to try football. It was really intriguing to me, and I could throw pretty well. So so my experience pretty much was, get in shotgun and try to throw it all over the field, and I think I threw it to the other team as much as I threw it to my team, but it was super fun. We had a great time. It was a great experience. And I really enjoyed it.
You played baseball in high school, too. What position did you play?
I was a first baseman and a pitcher.
So were you recruited to Indiana to play baseball or football?
Yeah, well, my junior year, I hadn't played football until senior year. So my junior year, I was recruited there to play baseball. But after I started playing football, I kind of told everybody that was recruiting me for baseball that I wanted to play both. And so Indiana was one of the few schools that said I could play both, and I ended up getting full scholarship for football, but played both while I was in Indiana.
You played how many years of baseball at Indiana?
I played all 4 years of baseball at Indiana and 5 years of football at Indiana.
What's your favorite memory from football at Indiana?
It has to be a game against Wisconsin. We played Wisconsin. They were ranked 23rd in the country, and obviously we're pretty big underdogs. And I threw a couple interceptions early in the game, and I think the coaching staff even thought about pulling me out and benching me. But we ended up going on to score like 19 unanswered points and pull out the victory on a last-second play. And that was probably the coolest football memory.
What was the motivation on why you chose football over baseball?
I finished my baseball career, and I had a year left of football because I had redshirted. And I just, I had kind of hit a ceiling, I thought. I wasn't good. I didn't have any much higher to go. I was what I was, so to speak. I was 6'4", 200 pounds, hit 340, and only 6 home runs. So, I never developed the power at the plate, and that was obviously a huge deficiency for me, especially being a first baseman. And, it's not like I had that many people banging on my door to come play professional baseball either. So it was less so that I chose to stop playing, and more so nobody wanted me to play for them anymore. So that's kind of how my career ended in baseball.
What was your draft day experience like?
It was great. I didn't really, at the end of my football career, expect to be playing in the NFL or get a shot in the NFL. And, I had gotten contacted by my agent, Buddy Baker, and after the season was over, he was kind of like, some people think you got a chance. You might as well start working out for it. So I put in a lot of work before the draft. I wasn't invited to the combine, so my pro day and a local workout with the Redskins were my only opportunities, and I was lucky enough to do pretty well. And Steve Spurrier was interested in drafting me, and he did in Washington, and it was pretty exciting for myself and my family. It was a cool experience.
You were the first person of Pakistani descent to play in the NFL. What's that like to think about that?
I think it's pretty cool. I think, the thing about labels is you're the first until the next person, and then it doesn't exist anymore. So, I think the coolest part was, not only Pakistani kids, but a lot of different kids would come up to me, and but mostly Pakistani kids that would say something to the fact that, my parents didn't even know what football was, and they weren't letting me play, and then I kind of told them about you, and now I can play on my high school team, and I thought that was pretty cool. I think it's one thing to be the first Pakistani player. It's another thing to have a kid be able to play football because his parents think it's more acceptable because you're playing it. So that was the coolest part, I think.
If you could talk about each team you were with in the NFL, maybe go through your journey in the NFL.
I started with the Redskins, and it was Steve Spurrier was the head coach, and I learned quite a bit from him, actually. I think the good thing about the two of us is that I was pretty raw, and he could mold me in the way he wanted to. It was a little bit of a shame that he ended up walking away from the Redskins job, not only because, for him, but for me, too, because, as you may know, that the guys that draft you, the ones that like you, and then Joe Gibbs came in, and truth be told, I didn't really even get a shot to make the team. I didn't play in the preseason games, and they just decided they didn't want me anymore. So that was kind of my Redskins experience. A lot of highs, but mainly just not really getting an opportunity. And then, I spent some time in Seattle. I really enjoyed my time there. I learned a lot about football, learned a lot about quarterbacking. With some great friends, Jim Zorn and Matt Hasselbeck and Craig Carroll and a bunch of other guys there. And really enjoyed living in Seattle. Really enjoyed the experience there. Obviously, being under Mike Holmgren was a huge plus. Experiencing what a Holmgren coach team was like. The 49ers was a cool experience. I wasn't there very long, but I enjoyed being down there, and the city was really awesome. Same would be said for Miami. I wasn't there long enough to say much about it, but it was a good experience. And then Buffalo, I'd say is where I cut my hay a lot in the end of my career, and made some really good friends there, and enjoyed my time with the Buffalo fans. They're a great core group of fans, and pretty impressive throughout the NFL in terms of where I saw. I thought they were pretty intelligent, group of fans. They knew the game, and I'd say that was it. And then obviously I spent 3 years in NFL Europe in Amsterdam, and I'd say that was, for me, one of my favorite times of my career, just because obviously I got a chance to play. A lot of the things that upset me about the NFL game weren't there in NFL Europe. It was just more so about the game and about the camaraderie, about your teammates. And I love living in Europe, and the friends I made there are special to me.
Do you have a favorite memory in the NFL?
I have a lot of memories that I really enjoyed in the NFL. I guess anytime my parents didn't come to many games, but anytime they came to a game, I remember it as being a pretty cool memory. I played in the Hall of Fame game a couple years ago. My parents were there. My wife, who we weren't married at the time, we were just dating, but she was there too. And that was really cool that they were there to watch the game, and I got to play, and that was fun. So that was a pretty good memory. And then in NFL Europe, some of my most fondest memories. We just played so many great games over there. Had a great time after the games, and so I think I have a lot of memories, and I'm lucky to say that. So.
What was it like to travel across the Atlantic, I guess, and play football?
It was awesome. You know, I think, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the things that began to bug me about the NFL in terms of commercial timeouts and a lot of the business aspect of the league wasn't present in NFL Europe because, you know, there were no TV timeouts and there wasn't magazine covers and financially the league didn't do too well. So what it became was just about pure football and pure friendship, and you also lived in the hotel with all the other guys. So it brought some of that college atmosphere aspect of it to where, you know, you practice hard and then you go have a good time with the guys that you were practicing with and playing with. And, you know, for me, there wasn't anything really not to like about it. So I really enjoyed every aspect of it.
The 2006, you were the NFL Europe Offensive MVP. Do you want to take me through what happened that season?
We had a great year. It was one of those things. I had been on the team a couple times and knew the coaching staff really well, knew the offense really well, to the point where I was almost directing it myself, calling my own plays at the line of scrimmage. I had Skylar Fulton on one side, I had Chad Lucas on the other side, and then they were two exemplary receivers. You know, our offensive line was kind of a veteran group for being over there. A lot of them had been there before and knew each other, which was a big positive. And, you know, I unfortunately got hurt in the 7th game of that season. So, you know, I was able to put up the numbers I was with only playing 7 games. And, you know, I think that was a pretty significant accomplishment to win the MVP and not finish out the season. And also, you know, I played that 7th game on an entirely broken ankle. We were able to pull it out and win the game. So, you know, I think it was a really cool experience and a really awesome thing to be named the MVP over there, and it meant a lot to me.
Did you have a nickname when you played?
Oh my God! I mean, I had more than one, that's for sure. I don't know. You know, I can't even tell. There were just so many. Trent Dilfer liked to call me the Thirsty Camel. What else was I called? The Palestinian Rocket. They called me Gibby. You know, there were a lot of names.
Throughout your NFL career, who had the most impact on it?
You know, I'd have to say a guy named Al Borges, who was my offensive coordinator in Indiana. He's now the OC at the University of Michigan. He was my quarterback coach and offensive coordinator at Indiana, and I'd say he had a huge influence because there was a time when he was there later on in my career where I was thinking about transferring, and I asked him, you know, his opinion, and he was really honest with me and convinced me to stay. And you know, if I had transferred, my career would have looked a lot different. So I'd have to say Al Borges was extremely instrumental in my career.
Why'd you start an online store?
Well, it's more so the online store is just the vehicle to get my products to the consumer. I would say I started my clothing line for 2 reasons. One, every time I'd go shopping, I'd see the same stuff in the stores over and over again, and there was a lack of creativity and uniqueness out there. So I thought I could develop a brand that could deliver that. And also, you know, from a standpoint of comfort and fit, I thought a lot better job could be done with a lot of garments. And, you know, I could never find a polo that I could raise my arms in because they were always not long enough for me. You know, and you'd be worried about showing your belly button if you just moved around in it. And so because of that, I just decided to learn as much as I could about clothing business and how to construct garments, and that's kind of what happened.
How long have you had this company?
You know, we launched January 22nd. I've been working on the clothing aspect of it since July. just in terms of building the patterns, picking the fabrics, working on the fit, working on the sizing, the shape, and all of that stuff. So it's been a long process, long journey so far, and but it's been great. So yeah, we launched the website January 22nd.
So if you could describe yourself as any ice cream flavor, what would you be and why?
Ice cream flavor. Oh boy. You know, I'd have to be whatever they call it, maybe like moose tracks. Because I'd like to think of myself as like pretty vanilla in terms of a base. You know, I like to, especially in terms of like the way I conduct myself, very classic, very just straightforward, honest. And then I like, you know, I have a little bit of an artistic side to me, which I guess would be the caramel and the little aspects of moose tracks, you know, so there's a little bit of uniqueness there. So I guess that's what I would say.
For someone who wants to play in the NFL, what's the best advice you can give them?
Oh, I would say that to learn from people that know what they're doing in terms of, you know, if you find a coach, if you find someone that can give you advice who knows what they're doing, and by that I mean either has had experience coaching players that have played in the NFL, or has experience that proves that they know what they're doing. You know, I would surround myself with many people like that as I could. I would work on my fundamentals. You know, constantly working to improve my fundamentals, and understanding that each level I reach, there's 20 or so more people that are better than I am, and to never get complacent with dominating at a level that you're at, because there's always room for improvement. I'd also suggest that continue to have fun with it. Don't get burned out. Don't work too hard as a youngster, because, you know, if you play in the NFL, for some guys that would mean playing football for 12, 15, 20 years if you include Pop Warner, high school, college. There's just a long frame of time. It's a long journey. And not to get burnt out, you know, just to work hard when you're playing, but at the same time, don't make your entire life about it. Because, as any player will tell you, at some point, you won't play anymore. And you'll have to have other interests and other motivations.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Hamdan. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Max. Take care of yourself.
Thank you for listening to the interview with Gibran Hamdan. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you leave your comments below as well. Please check out my website, prointerviews.org, for other interviews. Like the Facebook page at facebook.com/prointerviews. Follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/prointerviews. Subscribe to me on YouTube at youtube.com/prointerviews. Thanks again for listening. Stay tuned for more interviews, and feel free to contact me.